Hello, Pastor Tim here, bringing you today's Kingdom Key. We are going to be in Luke chapter 14, verse 25. So let's take a look. It says, "Now great crowds accompanied him, and he turned to them and said, 'If anyone comes to me and does not hate his own father, mother, and wife, children, and brothers and sisters, yes, even his own life, he cannot be my disciple. Whoever does not bear his own cross and come after me cannot be my disciple. For which of you, desiring to build a tower, does not first sit down and count the cost, whether he has enough to complete it? Otherwise, when he has laid a foundation and he is not able to finish, all who see it will begin to mock him, saying, This man began to build but was not able to finish. Or what king going out to encounter another king in war will not first sit down and deliberate whether he was able with 10,000 to meet him who comes against him with 20,000? And if not, while the other is still yet a great way off, he sends a delegation and asks for terms of peace. So therefore, any one of you who does not renounce all that he has cannot be my disciple." Now, really, that last verse that I read really kind of summarizes Jesus' thoughts here, is that, look, in order to be his follower, we have to surrender, we have to renounce, we have to reject all other things. Now, that sounds crazy, doesn't it? But what we don't understand is the exchange rate of God. The exchange rate of God is that he doesn't want to take anything away from you. He wants you to submit everything to him. He has a plan for you, and his plan is good. The problem is we live in a world that's fallen, and we have people in our lives that reject him. And sometimes, yes, that can even be people that are within our own household. And sometimes that can be a tough pill to swallow and a difficult situation to manage. But we have to understand that our loyalties are first to the kingdom of God. Our loyalties are first to Jesus. Notice how he says, if anyone comes after me, does not hate his own father, mother, wife, children, brothers, sisters, even his own life. That's crazy. If you read it just on the surface, but what you have to do is you have to consider context. And contextually here, the word hate does not mean to despise or to loathe. It means to love less, basically. So, in essence, in comparison to your love for Jesus, everything else just pales in comparison. When you love something more than everything else, then obviously everything else is going to come after that. And that's what Jesus is saying here. He's not saying that we're to actively hate ourselves and our families, our wives, and our children. That's ludicrous. The Bible tells us to honor our parents. The Bible teaches us to train and love our children. So obviously Jesus isn't talking about hating them in the sense of like the world defines hate. But he's saying basically in comparison to your love for me, it's going to look far less significant. And then when he talks about bearing your own cross, in Matthew 16, Jesus says, if anybody comes after me, he has to deny himself, take up his cross and follow me, die daily. So it's a life of self-denial, self-rejection, and complete submission to the kingdom of God. And again, we talked about the exchange rate of Jesus. He said, come to me, all you who are weary and heavy laden, and I'll give you rest. Take my yoke upon you, for my burden is easy, and my yoke is light. So what we don't often understand is when we submit ourselves fully to God, then he is actively at work in the situations in our lives. That's why in Matthew 6:33 it says, seek first the kingdom, and all these things will be added unto you. See, if we make Jesus our priority, then he makes everything else his priority. We have his promise that if we will put everything in his hands, then he will work on our behalf to take care of our situation. And you know what? Sometimes it can be tough, especially if we're talking about a spouse that not only does not serve God, but is in active opposition to your faith, who is angry about the fact that you become a child of God. But that's something you have to place in the hands of Jesus. You cannot submit to that and reject your kingdom purpose. Folks, the fact is we're all going to live forever. Are we going to live in the kingdom? Or are we going to live in its opposite? That's really the long and short of it. Jesus said, so any one of you who does this, does not renounce all that he has, cannot be my disciple. Another concept he talks about is the concept of counting the cost. Jesus wants everyone to know, look, this is tough, I know it. So I want you to consider first, am I going to stick with this? Because folks, we can't afford to have people put their hand to the plow and look back. So there's your kingdom key for the day. God bless you. Keep calm. Jesus on.